Welcome to New England, a home for the National Association of Sea Dogs. Today, October 1st, 2022, marks the 62nd anniversary of Nigeria's independence. As we celebrate this important landmark, let's join our panel of discussants and moderators as we discuss the Diaspora perspective of the 2023 presidential election in Nigeria. This event is brought to you courtesy of the New England Subdeck in conjunction with Grund Ziro Deck, New York State Chapter.
Greetings, my name is Solo Okonkwo. Working with me here today,
Miss Vivian Obi-Benetu, and we are the moderators for today's wonderful events.
This is a great event about Nigeria. Nigeria is 62 today. Everybody's happy.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Solo Okonkwo. Working with me today.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mrs. Vivian Obi-Benetu, and we are happy to be here talking about this very important event.
Thank you, Vivian. It's always a pleasure working with you. We have a whole lot to talk about today. Congratulations, Nigerians. Nigeria is 62 today. Happy independence. That's really great. This event is being organized by the National Association of Sea Dogs, Grund Ziro Deck, New England Subdeck. This is a great event. I really want to applaud all the individuals that made this possible. From Capone of Grund Ziro, which is Charles Benetu. Thank you for all you've been doing. I'd like to mention the first mate of Grund Ziro 2, who is Charles Okudegu. Thank you very much. I would like to recognize to New England Subdeck coordinator, who is Matthias Ahioha. There we have a panel of speakers, as you can see. We have, starting from my side, we have George Oboke, we have Charles Benetu, and we have Anthony C. Analo. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming out here today. This is really great. We have to think about current Nigeria, our founding fathers. Will they be happy about what is going on in Nigeria? Is that the dream? Something they work hard for? These are the begging questions we have to think about. Think about a sustainable Nigeria. Will credible and transparent electoral system work? Will it be the change agent? This is something we have to be thinking about. So I encourage you, even if you are in the panel of speakers, the audience, you can contribute to what we have to talk about today.
Thank you so much. So to start the questions, this is a question directed at all our speakers. The first question is, Nigeria at 62 is still on the precipice of being a failed nation. What do you think is responsible for this situation? And this is directed at all our speakers.
Thank you very much, the moderators. I totally agree with the question that Nigeria is on the precipice of being a failed nation. I will trace my analogy from the foundation of Nigeria, where we were colonized by the British. The amalgamation of the northern and southern protectorates made a marriage of convenience for the British, but not a marriage of convenience for Nigerians. This led to disintegration, ethnicity, nepotism, and what we now see today. People no longer choose leaders because of their capacity or because of what they can offer to the country. They choose leaders because they are from their ethnic region, or they speak the same dialect, or because they are from the same religion. So all of these indices are responsible for us as Nigerians choosing square pegs and fixing them in round holes, thinking they will solve the problem bedeviling the Nigerian economy. There is this adage in Nigeria that a fool at 40 is a fool forever. Nigeria is 62, and I think it is time for us to stand up and really take a stand and choose the right leaders. Our next election will be next year, 2023. And it is time for Nigerians to stand up, take their destinies in their hand, and let's change the tide. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my able Capone. And first, I want to say Happy Independence Day to Nigeria. Congratulations, Nigeria. Congratulations, Africa. And congratulations to blacks in diaspora. We have a country to celebrate. Not just a country that is based out of its geographic location, but also that can be traced and recognized for the tremendous contributions it has made to global issues from every sphere of human endeavor. In the United States here, if you pick the top 10 in any profession, you will find a Nigerian. That's cause for celebration. There's no doubt we're facing a lot of challenges as a country, but I like to put things in context because nothing exists in isolation. We are part of a global world that's so connected and interconnected these days, so we cannot just take things from an isolatory point of view. We must take it in context. We're going through a lot of challenges. We're going through a lot of difficulties, a lot of, unique issues. But Nigeria is by no means close to a failed state.
First of all, let me say welcome to all you good people. We are very grateful that you are here. And happy Independence Day to you all. I am inclined to agree with the last speaker that Nigeria is anything but a failed state. Yes, we have had a successive run of failures, but we have also accomplished a lot since independence. Nigeria actually was a collection of independent nations before the British arrived. And now it is all of us to realize that our destinies are now intertwined together, and we must work together collectively to achieve our goals. Thank you.
Nigerians, we have to start thinking about what we can do for our country. Just like we are doing right now, our platform right now, we are engaging, talking about things, brainstorming is part of that. Those in diaspora, we have to get engaged.
Important point that was made that I really liked was when one of the speakers talks about how when you hear about a Nigerian, you know that we're educated and we're smart individuals and our reputation precedes us. And I want that to be the impression that one has of Nigeria as a country. When they think about us, they think about how powerful we are as a nation. And voting rights and voting appropriately is one of the ways that we can tackle that impression that people have of us as a nation. So that was an important point that one of our speakers made. So thank you so much. And I'll go right on to the next question. The second question is also for all our speakers. As we celebrate Nigerian independence today, taking into cognizance the plummeting economy and the poor standard of living, do we have really anything to celebrate? And this is for all our speakers.
Thank you very much for that question. My first response, I was being a realist, stating the obvious. Every functional democracy should have dividends that the people will enjoy. In Nigeria today, we don't have electricity, basic electricity, pipe-borne water running, good and functional roads. These are basic amenities that every functional democracy should produce for its people. A comedian once said that if you go to Nigeria, you can take, if you're supposed to take a medication, you shake the medication before you take it, just take the medication and drive on a Nigerian road. The medication will be shaken properly in your stomach. It may sound like I'm trying to create humor, but it is the obvious reality. Do we have anything to celebrate as Nigerians? Yes. We have life. We have intellectuals in diverse fields across the globe. What can we do with these intellectuals? They're making us proud in other countries. How can we incorporate them in Nigeria?
Thank you very much for that response. And I like to be I'm a very strong optimist when it comes to the topic of Nigeria. Fanatically, unapologetically, an optimist. While I'm still a realist. It's a very complex approach, very complex mix. But I think that's the perspective that helps me to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Do we have things to celebrate? We have so much to celebrate as a country. June 12, 1993, we have an election that was annulled. I was a very young student then, first year of college or thereabout. And I was a part of the struggle to ensure that democracy takes hold in Nigeria. Lots of lives were lost in the process. Agitations, people went to jail, people were beaten and killed. But 1999 to date, that's probably 20 some years of democracy in Nigeria, seeing several peaceful transition of power from one regime to the other. That's a measure of progress. That's a measure of attraction. I like to see the history of man and the evolution of mankind as a marathon, a gradual movement from one space to another. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. But if we throw away the little progress we've made and we feel we need to sweep the carpet off the floor to rebuild, we will continuously have to go back to ground zero to rebuild. And we're at ground zero.
Does Nigeria have anything to celebrate? Of course we do. We have a whole lot to celebrate. The biggest disservice that we do to Nigeria is to compare Nigeria with the advanced democracies of the world. As I pointed out previously, these countries have had a lot of times to straighten out their issues, and they haven't even turned the corner yet. Why should anyone really realistically expect that things are going to go that smoothly for Nigeria, which is probably the most diverse country in the world? We have a lot to be proud of as Nigerians, but we do have our work cut out for us. We need to get together and collaborate, even though we have a lot of different ethnicities, but we have to put our hands together to figure out a way forward from now on. Thank you.
I appreciate the responses from my brothers who are very optimistic. I am also optimistic, but the truth is, if you have a square peg in a round hole, it will not work. You need a leader who is ready to change the course, change the direction of the country. We have been led a certain direction, and if the masses in Nigeria are very hungry, I think it is time for them to stem the tide. It's time for them to stand and vote the right leaders. I will say it again. I don't see a reason why a country made up of so much intellectuals like Nigeria would have someone who knows not what they are doing. Thank you.
Thank you. That's great feedback we're getting from the speakers. You guys, agree with me that we have to celebrate Nigeria. We have a whole lot to celebrate in terms of Nigeria. We are here talking about this, and some of us have already booked their flights 2 years in advance, going to Nigeria already. I'm telling you, we love that country regardless. You know, December, you see everybody trooping back to Nigeria. We love our country. We have a whole lot to celebrate. We have to celebrate our democracy, just like George just mentioned. For if you are probably 20 years less or 18, 19, our democracy has been probably up for 20 years now. That's progress. You can see our youths right now. They are awake and alive, walking around and celebrating in terms of not the independence, saying that we are awake, we want to get the right person in the office. That's celebration right there. So as we are celebrating, as I said before, we have to do that in a somber note. We have to think about what the challenge we have back home. But we need everybody the same boat. Everybody has to collectively, we have to do it. Don't stand by the side and say, okay, Mr. A or Mr. B will do it. No. Be involved. Be about it. And make it happen. That's what we're talking about.
Thank you so much for all the responses. And I'm going to go right into the next question. This is directed to Mr. Enike Benetu. And the question is, as Nigerians prepare to go to the polls in January 2023, how would you describe a free and credible election?
A free and credible election is an election that is devoid of rigging, is an election that is devoid of malpractice, is an election that involves everyone who is up to the age of voting to be involved, because a credible election is an election that is conducted and the outcome is not subverted. I'll give you an example. In Nigeria, some years back, after the gubernatorial election, 5 gubernatorial seats were overturned by the judiciary after these individuals have been elected as governors. They have sat down as governors for almost a year, and the judiciary were doing their arbitration. And all of that went over for a long while until they were overturned, and then the right persons were now sworn in as governors. That does not portend a free and credible election. Nigeria practices the presidential system like the American government, where the president and the vice president, governors, and state representatives are elected. And we have a body in Nigeria known as the Independent National Electoral Commission that is saddled with the responsibility of organizing elections in Nigeria every 4 years. How do we get a credible election in Nigeria? When, for example, it is the government that funds the body that conducts the election. It says independent nationally. How independent are they? They have to be very, very, very independent. A free and fair election is an election where every vote counts. The populace are able to see and track their votes as it is trickling. If you check the American elections, for example, you will see that as the presidential election or as the votes in general for any of the positions is coming in, you can track. You say, okay, this is what is coming from Wisconsin, this is what is coming from New Hampshire. You can track what is going on. And we have representatives of all the parties who are there watching and making sure that elections are credible. So A free and fair election is an election that is devoid of rigging, devoid of electoral malpractices, where the individuals who conduct the election are very, very just and unbiased in their discharge of the duty. And it's an election where the masses will agree that their votes actually counted.
This is really great, Mr. Benetu. In essence, what you're trying to say is this: INEC, Nigerians are watching. INEC, globally, everybody's watching you. Do the right thing. That's exactly what he's trying to say. Just a follow-up to another question to you specifically. Other speakers will get their own questions too. Mr. Charles, as we pray for a vibrant and sustainable Nigeria, it's almost the same thing kind of question they ask you. Will a credible and transparent election be the change agent?
It is the starting point. A free and credible election is the starting point to the change that we need. It is not a situation where the most qualified candidate who has won the election is now, the election is now rigged to support the other candidate because of their party affiliations or because of the money politics and all of that. So it is time for Nigerians to really, like I said earlier, dig deep and elect credible leaders that they trust to lead us to the promised land. As it is today, the elections in Nigeria, we need strong institutions. INEC needs to be independent of the presidency, needs to be independent of government apparatus. The funding needs to be coming from, not from the government. There should be a situation where the fund comes from an independent body so that they can totally be independent. Otherwise, if I give you the money to conduct an election, I can dictate the way the election goes. That is the problem that I see happening in Nigeria.
Next question is for Anthony Analo. We have often heard that National Association of Sea Dogs, Pirate Fraternity, is not a political organization. To this end, what role, if any, can the Pirate Confraternity play in the Nigerian political space?
Okay, yes. From inception, the Pirates Confraternity have chosen not to be a political organization. In other words, they say that we are apolitical. But that does not mean that we are not in the political space. We are an organization of advocacy and social justice. Every time we intervene in the affairs of people, we are actually practicing politics. I think what we are not doing is playing partisan politics. You see, there is a big difference. As a human being, it is very difficult not to be political because your interactions with other human beings is political by nature. But what we are born is partisan politics. So we, as the Pirates Confraternity, needs to go on doing what it's doing, step up its advocacy. We have a medical mission in Nigeria and all kinds of charity works that we do, which Nigerians recognize us for, and that is what we should keep doing. I will continue to educate Nigerians about the importance of a just and egalitarian society. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a great answer. Thank you, Anthony Analo. That's great. What we do is advocacy.
All right, thank you very much for those submissions. Pirates Confraternity as an organization and what we can do in the Nigerian space. I'm a proud member of the Pirates Confraternity, believing strongly in our positions to remain non-partisan. But I think if we look at the structure of the Pirates Confraternity, we're about the most well-placed organization in Nigeria and in the diaspora to make the greatest impact in a lot of aspects of governance in Nigeria. Primarily, as an advocacy organization, I think there's a lot of work for us to do in terms of building a platform for holding our elected officials, our public officials accountable, for being a spoke pipe, a microphone for the average Nigerian to be able to express concerns about the political structure, about the political system. We should be a platform that leverages our reach globally and our strength, both intellectually and in numbers, to draw and gather resources to push very clear agendas in the political space.
The follow-up question is to Judge Oboge. What is PVC? How can one obtain a PVC? And what suggestion can you make to make the Nigerian government on the possibility of Nigerians in diaspora getting a PVC and taking part in the electoral process?
Thank you very much. PVC, I'm not sure I have the clear definition of the term, but I know it's a personal permanent voter's card. That's your form of identification for eligibility to vote. I think we have it as a system here. Though we don't carry a voter's card, we are registered to vote in the US as well. And if you go to your voting centers, you are in the system. So again, I think all these challenges and all these problems just create tremendous opportunities for us as Nigerians and for us as a Pirates Confraternity to take a leading position in driving solutions. What we have is a situation where there are still so many inefficiencies in the system. We're not leveraging the strength of technology, automation, biometrics to capture data and have them permanent and easily transferable. It's not like we don't have the technology or the resources, but we don't have the willpower, we don't have the discipline, we don't have the right intentions. And these are things that not just leadership, followership plays a vital role. If you don't hold your leaders accountable, they take you for granted. And we must see our responsibility in this stake. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Institutions that are not strong or not firm enough to be able to assert themselves and control the process is another problem that is bedeviling the Nigerian electoral system. Like the previous speaker was talking about the PVC. That is the permanent voter's card. It is a biometric system where the voter goes to vote, the card is inserted, and then he thumbprints, or he uses his fingerprints, which is his unique, which will bring out his unique biodata to confirm that he is the one voting. But what happens is that prior to elections, there is trans-border transportation of individuals to come and register in Nigeria. From Niger, from Chad, neighboring countries. They will come in, register, get the PVC, and they will come and participate in that particular process. That is another form of electoral malpractice that is bedeviling the country. The money politics, individuals who are very, very sound intellectually and have the capacity to take Nigeria out of its current situation, do not have the wherewithal to actually contest such elections. Because as far as I'm concerned, Nigeria operates one of the most expensive democracies in the world. If you find out how much our House of Representative members get as monthly allocation, how much they get as stipends, you will be shocked. So all of that has to be put in check for us to actually, forestall the anomalies that I've been talking about.
There is no doubt that credible election in Nigeria will go a long way in solving our problem in Nigeria. But that's not guaranteed. We do have a dysfunctional educational system in Nigeria. We do have tribalism, unemployment, insecurity. A lot of those still plays a role. And that's where we come in as members of National Association of CDOC to educate Nigerians and the citizens about the importance of credible election system and the importance of voting, and don't let people buy their vote. For people like us that stayed away from participating in Nigerian election, credible election in Nigeria will restore trust and faith in the system, and that will help most of us to come back and participate in the election.
Good evening, everybody. Great insights from the speakers. Great job by the moderators. I'd like to say this. The National Association of CDOC's Parish Confraternity is committed to uplifting society through our advocacy programs, and which we have done through our existence, encouraging good governance and all whatnot. Today, we are celebrating Nigeria's independence at 62. It's a bit poignant, yet we must celebrate because we have life and we have hope. As we are here in the United States as members of a huge diaspora of Nigerians, the question here, which I'm glad to have heard from the speakers, a little insight, is what we do to contribute to that good governance that would stand the brain drain. How do we make Nigeria better? How do we make people feel comfortable to be in Nigeria, to thrive in Nigeria? So, we talked about the permanent voters card. George Oboge here answered that beautifully. How do you obtain your PVC? Because you need that to vote. But most importantly, just like Mr. Benetu said, the Independent National Electoral Commission has for over the years not considered leveraging technology to allow participation of Nigerians in diaspora in the electoral process. How do we engage INEC, that is the acronym for the Electoral Commission, to consider that and see it as fit for people who are in diaspora to participate in the electoral process in Nigeria? They say the people deserve the leader that they get, but we want for everybody to have the chance. So, as members of this organization, we pose a question to other members of diaspora. I know that by now people who want to travel to Nigeria in December or so have all bought their tickets, but how many people have endeavored to have their PVC, and how many of those have endeavored to book flights to be in Nigeria in January, February to participate in the elections? Whilst we wait for INEC to consider leveraging technology to include diasporans in the electoral process, why don't we try to see how we can participate by obtaining our PVCs and booking flights instead of December, or in addition to December, it's every 4 years, book flights to go and participate in the elections in Nigeria in order to make that mark and see that Nigeria does not continue on the precipice of becoming a failed state. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. One more I think we have somebody who wants to.
My name is Gabriel. Thank you, gentlemen and gentlewomen of the panel. I have a question to ask. First off, happy Independence Day. You're welcome. And thank you for having us. I really appreciate it. This is more of a question for the panel and your thoughts on strong leadership in Nigeria in the geopolitical space where U.S. hegemony may be waning in the world and the rise of China's influence through the Belt and Road Initiative and the necessity of strong leadership in Nigeria and what that looks like moving forward in the next several decades. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Gabriel, for that question. For all intents and purposes, for given the structural dynamics of Nigeria in Africa and the role we play, there's no doubt that Nigeria should hold its place as a driver of the geopolitical strength in Africa. Forming the kind of alliances that we see in places like NATO and the European Union and all that to drive both political stability, economic progression, creating value, and being a launch pad for every little African nation to begin to branch out. But it's sad that we are not there yet for the various reasons we have enumerated today. But of course, the level of engagement that we are seeing in the diaspora in Africa is one that is really, really encouraging. For the first time, we have the African Union moving towards a single currency. We're looking to break the barriers in international travel within the continent. Actually, in West Africa right now, you can go within the country. So those barriers are beginning to come down gradually. And there's actually a move and a push for a United States of Africa that will counter what we have in other aspects. And again, these are ideas that may not happen in our lifetime. And I think most of the frustration we all have here is that everything we wish for, we want to see it happen in our lifetime. But we should change that narrative. We should see ourselves as seed planters for hundreds of years to come, where we want to see the continent and the world go to. So we are encouraged, and why we have this is we have kids. We all have kids that are first generation American, and we are hoping to keep them engaged such that they become a force to drive that kind of narrative in the future. And we want to call on our partners in the world, of all races, of all nations, of all countries, to support us and be a partner in it. There's so much collaboration that we can achieve to make the world a better place. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure to be part of this discussion this evening, and thank you for the privilege and opportunity to contribute to this conversation. I have a couple of minutes. What I'd like to say is the project or program of political engagement is four-pronged. It is made up of community organizing, it is made up of voter registration, it is made up of voter education, it is made up of voter participation. I urge everyone gathered here today, when we leave after having a great time, go and do an inventory and review what aspects of the political system or process are you participating in or contributing into. If you are not community organizing, you should be trying to encourage voters to register. Anybody who's come of age, we do it here in the United States. It's the same thing.
So on behalf of everybody here, upon of our Grund Ziro and New England Deck coordinator, I say thank you very much for a great event. And for my colleague right here who's been working so hard with me here, Vivian, you have the last word to say?
I want to thank everyone for their participation and for the wonderful questions and answers. And I think all of us being here speaks volumes. This is success, and we have a long way to go. So please, let's join hands to make a better Nigeria. Thank you so much for your participation.
You guys have done a tremendous job. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.